everybody, welcome to the show. My name is Amanda Ostrander. I am a teacher-turned-homeschool mom, and this is Raising A to Z, a place where we talk about all things homeschooling. And today I'm going to tackle the very big subject of deschooling. So, deschooling. Deschooling is a very big word, and it can be very scary for a lot of new homeschooling parents. So over the last couple of weeks, I've seen a lot of parents in some Facebook groups that I know pulling their kids out of school, which happens all the time. And everybody, when they start talking about that in the Facebook group, starts talking about, okay, make sure you take some time to deschool. Make sure you deschool. Don't forget to deschool. And I find a lot of these parents have no idea what that means, how to do it, who should be doing it, do I need to do it, what do I do, how do I do it? So I'm going to give you all that today. I'm going to give you the who, what, when, where, why, and how of deschooling. But before we get into that, I am going to thank this week's video sponsor. This video is sponsored by Zookeeper. They are an interactive reading and writing app for kids, and I will talk a little bit more about them later on. But I want to say thank you to Zookeeper. So let's get into it. The who, what, when, where, why, and how. So let's start with the what. What is deschooling? Deschooling is a process of breaking down and unlearning the school system. So there are things that happen in school that are not necessarily conducive to learning. They're not required for learning, and they're there because historically they've always been there. So for example, bells are a great example. Having bells at certain times, having to start by a certain time, end by a certain time. That was all like a historical conditioning tool that the bells went off to get kids used to hearing them for when they would eventually work in the factories. Because the bells signified when you started work and when you ended work. That's why we have school bells. Some things that we do in the school system, we do because, logistically or for safety reasons, it's just easier or better because you have a classroom with 25 to 30 plus kids, and a teacher, one adult, needs to be able to manage and maintain safety and security in that classroom while also getting them to listen. So there's things that we do that are not necessarily conducive to learning, but they are conducive to school, because school and learning are two different things. So deschooling is a process of breaking away from what happens in school and learning what happens in learning and what homeschooling is going to look like. So that is what deschooling is. It's unlearning school. So who needs to deschool? Well, everybody who is homeschooling should take some time to deschool and to kind of break free of the logistics of schooling. I think that is something that is important for all homeschooling parents. It is going to be different for parents who have never sent their kids to school because their kids don't have those kind of influences already, and they can do a lot of that work before their kids are even school aged. When I'm talking deschooling specifically in this video, I'm going to talk primarily to parents who have had their kids in the school system and who are now pulling them out and going to homeschool them. The reason why those people need to deschool is because not only have you once again joined that schooling system, your kids have now experienced it. So there's things that become habit or routine or expectations that come with having been in the system for a while, and you now need to take some time and kind of break that. So deschooling is for basically everybody, but primarily for families who have pulled their kids out of the school system. It is for parents. There's definitely a huge component that is for the parents to realize that your day is not going to look like a school. Your day is not going to be 9 to 3. Your day does not require you to start at a certain time and end at a certain time. Your day doesn't require you to cover 15 subjects. Your day doesn't have to look like that. So there's definitely that component for parents, but is also something very important for children. Children need to take time to deschool as well. Kids who have been in the school system, again, have already started to learn things that are school related. So they've already learned about bells. They've already learned about, doing multiple subjects. But there's also things that they've probably learned and internalized that they haven't even realized yet. A lot of kids who come out of the public schools have fears of getting things wrong. They have fears of reading aloud. They have fears or concerns about safety, or they're exhausted, or there's lots of things that are happening for kids and they need time to deschool as well. So deschooling is for everybody, but primarily for families who have pulled their kids out of public school. When do you deschool? So deschooling, when do you do it? You want to do it before you start any formal lessons. So if your kids have never been to school, obviously you want to like take some time and deschool ahead of time. But if your kids have been in school, when do you deschool? So deschooling is primarily going to be that period between the time you pull them out of school and the time that you actually start doing lessons and kind of a more structured homeschooling program with them. There's going to be this space of time. That is when you are doing your deschooling. How long that period is going to depend on a lot of factors. Generally, the rule of thumb is 1 week to 1 month for every year your kid was in school. If your kids were in school for up to grade 2, let's say, your deschooling period can be anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months. And I think that throws a lot of people off because it is such a big, we're basically talking multiple weeks difference in time. From my experience as a homeschool consultant, I have seen that primarily the shorter side will be for parents who have pulled their kids just because they want to homeschool. They're just wanting to build a better family culture. They want to do it for faith reasons. They're the ones who are pulling without trauma, essentially, are the ones who tend to have shorter deschooling periods. If you're pulling your kids for more traumatic reasons, and by that I mean things like bullying, medical issues, anxiety, if your child has learning disabilities or neurodivergent and you're pulling them out because they're just not getting their needs met in class, those are kind of the situations I deem a little bit more traumatic, and you're going to probably need to deschool a little bit longer. The reason being is that the kids need more time to heal, and they need more time to kind of adjust to your schedule or to adjust to this new shift and new situation. And so because of that, they're going to take longer. Does that mean that your kid that you just pulled is going to need, the full time? No. But like, it's up to you to kind of judge and see when it's time to start to introduce more structure or more lessons. We're going to take some time though and make sure that we give our kids enough time to actually deschool and actually heal from any trauma that they may have, but also to like get over some things. We're going to talk about that. Why do we need to deschool? We need to deschool because there's lots of things that need to happen. I think a lot of parents don't realize how much is going to be happening in that deschooling period, but there's a lot of things that are going to be happening. So it's not necessarily something that can happen over a couple of days or a week. Like, you're going to want to take some time and get that really good solid deschooling period. So things that we're going to talk about as to why this is happening, why we want to do this. We want to take some time to relearn, refocus, and reconnect. Those are kind of the really big things that we're going to do. We need to rebuild things in ourselves as parents. We need to rebuild the trust in ourselves that we do know how to educate our kids. We need to rebuild the family connection, because homeschooling is so based around connection with your kids that if you're not connected, then you're going to really struggle with homeschooling. And this is not a saying that kids who are in public school don't have good family connections. That's not what I'm saying at all. But there's something very different about a homeschooling family connection that is there because of the homeschooling. And you can only have that kind of connection. That's like, it's hard to have that connection when your kids are gone from you 6, 7, 8 hours a day. So now that you are homeschooling, you're going to definitely need to take time to make sure that you're rebuilding those connections, and your kids need to rebuild those connections. So many parents that I counsel when it comes to consulting, they actually say like, well, my kids are fighting more than ever. Yes, they're figuring out their relationship, because a lot of the times they don't have a lot of time to actually interact together. You have kids who basically get up, get ready, go out the door, go to school, come back, do their homework, have dinner, maybe play for an hour or so, and then they're off to bed. So they're not having this huge amount of time to really interact. And now that they have more freedom and more time, they're interacting more and they have more time for conflicts. So you need to give your own kids time to figure out their relationship and how they're going to get along, because they're just not used to having interact with this other person who may or may not be just like them or totally opposite to them, right? It's just the way families work. Why do you need to deschool? You need to figure out your new schedule. So many kids in public school systems are sleep deprived. I don't think I can I can say that enough. There was a study that came out and said like up to like 70%, I think it was. It was anywhere from 50 to 70% of kids in schools are sleep deprived. They don't get enough sleep. And so just in that sense alone, during that deschooling period, you can just let your kids fall asleep and wake up when they want to and just let them catch up on their sleep. And you're going to notice the first few weeks, a lot of those kids are going to sleep a lot. They're going to have long nights or whatever because they're tired. It is just a thing that happens when, you have this like schedule that's been decided for you. The schooling schedule doesn't match kids and teens' need for their schedule or for their sleep. It just doesn't match. And so like you're going to see kids who need to sleep, and that's okay. It's very much okay. Your kids need to learn when they're going to fall asleep, when you get to figure out when your kids are going to wake up, when are they actually tired, when are they hungry? Because let me tell you, the feeding schedule with homeschool kids is like a different beast because the kitchen is right there. They think that they can eat 24/7. And while we do allow food, you just need to figure out like what your rules around getting snacks and stuff are going to be. You need to figure out when your kids are energetic, when they need to chill, when they like how their day flows. You need time to figure all of this out. And that's what we're going to do in the deschooling schedule. We're going to figure out when our kids actually fall asleep. We're going to figure all these things out. So like, for example, in our house, our kids fall asleep at 9 p.m. They wake up around 7:30, sometimes 8 o'clock, which means we don't start school until like 9 or 9:30, sometimes even 10. That's just the way our kids work, but then they work really hard and they're done 11:30. Like it's a different thing. I have one kid who likes breakfast, one who couldn't really care less about breakfast. But they are both big. They need their snacks in the afternoon. Like that was something I needed to figure out. There's things that you need to give yourself time to figure out. And that's what the deschooling process is for. Your kids also, another reason why we deschool is your kids need time to heal. Whether it is they have some anxiety, they have, they feel bad or they don't feel like they're capable because they've been in school and they've been told they're not good at something. Like their kids need time to heal from those kinds of things. So we do need that healing time. We also need time for kids to wear off the novelty of not going to school. Your kids need to have time to be like, oh, this is not as fun as it was anymore to just like sit around and do nothing. They need to be able to have time to get bored. Your kids need time for the novelty of not going to school to wear off. And then they also need time to get bored because boredom leads to them looking for things to do, and looking for things to do leads them into activities and things that are going to push their learning. So we need, because for so long, what they're learning and all of that's been dictated by what's been put out by the ministry and the curriculum that's been put in front of them. You need time for them to actually, think that this is just like sitting around at 9 a.m. is just like, yeah, this is normal now. And you also need time for them to be like, okay, so like, what do I do today? Oh, do you want to read a book? Hey, do you want to do this activity? Hey, do you want to like work on this with me? Yeah. Okay, let's do that. Like they need to get to a point where their brains can be like, yeah, let's do something. Otherwise my day is boring. And they will get there. Trust me, they will. They also need time to figure out what they're actually interested in. And the only way they're going to do that is if they have some time to actually get bored and explore that. So many kids I know are like, oh yeah, we're totally into Pokemon. Okay, why? Why are you into Pokemon? Well, everybody at school's into Pokemon. Okay, what do you like about Pokemon? Well, this kid has this. I don't want to know what that kid has. Why do you like Pokemon? And if you ask them, you realize that they don't actually care about Pokemon. They're just into it because that's what is accepted in their classroom. And so sometimes you have kids who have interests or want to learn about something that's maybe outside of what's like socially acceptable in terms of their class. So maybe they, want to learn about unicorns and it's like, well, unicorns are not cool anymore. Or they want to learn about space and they're like, no, we're not doing that. Like there's things that you have that happen in classrooms when you have a group of kids get together and they decide what's cool and what's not. And sometimes your kids need to learn that like they can have their own interests and that's cool too. And when they don't have that social pressure of needing to fit in with a group of kids every single day, all day long, they can actually figure out what they're interested in. So they need time to do that as well. So before I get into the actual deschooling plan, like the how to deschool, I want to take a minute and talk about our sponsor for this week. This week's video is sponsored by Night Zookeeper. If you're looking for a way to get your kids into reading and writing, then Night Zookeeper might be what you're looking for. Kids ages 6 to 12 can make characters, care for super cool semi-mythical zoo creatures, read prompts, and write stories. They learn spelling, grammar, and story writing all while playing an online game. It's so engaging that my daughter doesn't even realize she's learning. I love it when you can make screen time educational and fun, and with Night Zookeeper, you can do exactly that. Click my referral link down below to try it out for yourself. You'll get a 7-day free trial and a special half-price offer. How do you deschool? Here's how we do it. Few things you want to focus on when you're starting to deschool. Obviously, I would always recommend take at least a week and don't do anything. Don't go anywhere. Don't really do too much. Just take a week to exist in your home. Let the kids sleep. Let them wake up. Let them eat. Let them just recover. Take a week. Even if your kid only needs a week or 2 or 3, take at least a full solid week before you start moving on to any other steps in the deschooling plan. After about a week, take some time and figure out what your actual schedule looks like. When do your kids wake up? When do they go to sleep? When are they hungry? When do they seem like they could be ready to learn? That's when you're going to start to kind of like figure things out. You're not going to actually do any lessons, but you're going to take some time to see what that schedule actually kind of starts to look like. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to connect. You're going to do something with your kids every single day that is just like there purely for connection. You're going to cook with them. You can bake with them. You can read with them. You can play games with them. Engage with them in things that are interesting to them. So if you have a kid who loves to draw, you're going to sit down and draw with them. Maybe you're going to, if you're not good at drawing, maybe you get yourself an adult coloring book. First off, those are great. My kids are 6 and 8 and they love the adult coloring books far better than kids coloring books. But maybe that's like, you're like, oh, I can't draw, but I'm going to sit next to you and we're going to color together. If your kid likes video games, hey, take an afternoon and say like, show me your video game. Let's hang out and let's play the video game together. Do stuff like that. Spend time connecting with your kids and doing things that they're interested in. And then also you can bring them in and do stuff that you're interested in. Like, hey, do you guys want to make cookies with me? Let's do that. Hey, do you guys want to read this book with me? Yeah, let's do that. Engage with them and connect with them. Number 3, you as the parent are going to do some reading. I'm not talking about figuring out and reading curriculum. I'm talking about learning and deschooling yourself. And the 2 books I often recommend, I'll put links down below. Dumbing Us Down by John Taylor Gatto. Great book for like how the school system is actually built and how it's actually built to make workers. And that is the sole point of the school system. Great book because once you see the things that are happening in schools, you're like, oh, yeah, we don't need to do that anymore. Another great book for any new homeschooler that I always recommend is The Brave Learner by Julie Bogart. Fantastic book. She is a veteran homeschooler, mom, as well as she writes homeschooling curriculum now, the Brave Writer program. Fantastic book. It really kind of gets into how to make learning an everyday magical kind of thing in a very simple and natural way. And so great book for new homeschoolers. I recommend those. Those are my top 2 recommendations. Always. So you're going to take some time. You're going to read those books. There's lots of other great books out there. I'll put a link to some videos I have on books for parents. I'll put them up here. But great books out there. Take some time and like read. This also like goes back to like kids need to see you doing things sometimes. And like on a total side note, kids who have parents who read are more likely to read themselves. So if you want your kids to be interested in reading, they need to see you reading. So read, get all the information you need, but also like there's a little benefit of like if you're reading on a regular basis, your kids will see that and try it out. It works. And then number 4, you're going to let your kids get bored. I already talked about this. Boredom is the key to innovation. It is the key to learning. You need to let kids get bored so that they want to go and do and learn about other things and figure things out and explore and be creative. They need to do that. And in order to do that, they need to have a chance to get bored and figure out what they're interested in and what they want to do. So after that, once you've kind of got to a point where you're like, hey, I think I've got the flow of my day. I've got the flow of how things are going. My kids seem like they're starting to find things they're interested in. I think I'm ready to introduce either some more structured lessons and some curriculum. Then you can start actually getting into that. I do not recommend that you dive in. I recommend that you kind of go in slowly. Start with 1 or 2 subjects a day and slowly add as you go through, because there's still a learning curve to homeschooling. And so you want to make sure that your kids don't become overly resistant. So if you introduce 1 subject a day for a week and then maybe 2 subjects and then 3, take your time, bring it in slowly, follow their interests. And that is how you get your kids from the public school system to deschool and then into homeschooling. So thank you so much for watching. I want to thank our sponsors, Zookeeper. They have been a great sponsor. They've been a great asset in our home recently. And I just look forward to working with them again. Make sure that you're following along on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Thank you to our YouTube members who will get a whole bunch of cool bonuses and early releases and bonus videos and all kinds of cool stuff. So you totally should do that. And also, I just want to say thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.